Do you guys see what's going on with his left foot? Uh, on this,
Yeah, it's not absorbing momentum at all.
yeah,
It's very interesting.
we saw that on the very first clip. He had like kind of like a weird. I thought it was just because of how he gathered. There was sort of like a weird left hip impingement. Like his ankle is not so his left foot is not being supported fully by his ankle. Um, and now that I like this is legitimately the perfect angle for evaluating this particular area, but it is really interesting to see that like
It
that
almost
ankle.
slides a little bit
Yeah,
too.
and like you can see he's still pushing off of it, but as he's gathering, it's not stabilized. Um, that's something and it, like you can see they're pointing in different directions. That is I don't want to say like concerning, but really interesting to see how he shoots and splits. I mean, obviously, like Kessler Edwards has a hip thing that prevents him from basically shooting left with any kind of movement beyond like sliding on lifts. I'm curious to see how his bi-type splits work, noting that this ankle energy balance issue. And I think it's
I
also
actually,
I think it's also hip related.
I actually know that in college he shot something like yeah, he was in the teens in terms of off the dribble stuff. So like getting him in the tiniest bit of motion, yeah, is not good for his shooting for this exact reason.
Hmm. And again, just like we talked about with like again, forward momentum is a bit of a clunky term for a lot of reasons, but like sprinting into a shot, you it does break his it does reveal some of the issues with his jumper more than going backwards, where he really has better. He just generates more power through his arms and having to shoot forward, where you have to balance, stay behind the line, and not topple over. As a skinny person, I can attest to how difficult that can be at times. Um, this is really interesting and something that I don't think I had fully clocked before.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you could also see in this, sorry, you guys can go a second. You can also see that he's still like, even while stepping forward, is still trying to shoot with a bit of a sort of side lean towards that side that he's not supporting himself fully on. It's not something that necessarily worries me. I think it's something that will have to get worked out if he's ever going to be a pull-up shooter off of real sort of hard pull-ups instead of they're just giving him a ton of space and he can step into it comfortably. But I don't think it's like a death nail for his jumper or
Oh,
anything, but it
absolutely
is
not.
sort of interesting to see that. And I wonder if it is related to him being like super skinny and always being super skinny, that he's trying to put all that weight onto his right leg and then leaning sort of away from that. So it's
His
just an
jumper. I
interesting.
mean, what does this mean for his handle? Like we talked about his inability to create separation. Like if that left ankle is not as flexible or doesn't handle weight as well, or doesn't even just move energy as efficiently. Like yeah, that does really impact your ability to get separation with moves. So I mean, I would really be curious about that and seeing what they do with that in the same way that like Porzingis had really weak feet, which obviously affected his pop, getting up for rebounds and jumping off too. So like these issues, don't necessarily prevent you from being a good NBA player by any stretch of the imagination, but they do require specific physical and individualized skill development.
I'm curious, PD, what you think of the shot form at large, because like, so to me, that leftward lean that Bryce was talking about is very much causing it to be misaligned, and you can get away with some levels of misalignment in the shot, but usually the entire point of being a turn shooter, right, like he is here, is to get that alignment, and he's just
Mhm.
not getting it because of the ankle there. Do you think that's a like concern going forward? Do you just think that's a like, oh, he'll sort it out eventually?
I mean, to me, I would just like him to shoot from the right side of his body. Like he shoots down the middle right now, and you can see the hit. It doesn't. I think it's something that's being cleaned from two motions to like 1.5. Just make him a one motion shooter. Like, to me, this is a perfect one motion shot. Just like get that second motion all the way out of here, and work on just shooting straight up, straight down with a turn. Um, the alignment is probably the bigger issue on how the lower body is tilting left. The ball's in the middle, just like to be balance it out by moving the ball to the right shooting pocket, move it straight up, and get it out in one. Um, I think that it's like obviously under a bit of construction at the top, which you always want to bear in motion. I really love the release though. I will say that the release is really pretty. Shoots index finger straight down. easy easy energy transfer from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist. It's just the gather on the way up and the lower body balancing that I kind of, I want to say have issues with, but would like to see small cleanups over the years 18, 19, and 20. Little stuff. Everybody has little stuff.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I still think he can be like a really, really effective spot up shooter. I think there's a lot to like with that shot. But I'm with you that if he can get that second cleaner, that would be really nice. So here is one of the more interesting on-ball reps. I sort of like how the move he decides to make here. He kind of draws a foul that isn't called, but he then does beat him and shoot just a really bad looking floater. But again, I like the process that he goes through here. I think he does better to engage Knight and make him commit. And then, like I said, like Knight commits a foul here that isn't called, and he stays poised, which is hard for someone like him who is not very strong to kind of keep his body and then do get by. Again, I don't like that shot. I don't like the decision he makes to shoot that shot. But in terms of the slight encouragement that I find from him making the right decision with his handle, I like, So there's definitely stuff to work on here. And something we don't get to see at all this game is him make a single pass out of pick and roll, because he never really did until his scoring option was completely cut off. That's just, he's a solid connecting passer, actually. When he's not running a pick and roll, he makes fine passing reads. But it's like he compartmentalizes my job at a pick and roll is first to score, and then if that is completely out of if that is completely out of the question, then I make the pass. That pass to the roller isn't really there, and then that the lane is super clogged. There's not necessarily a like an obvious pass here at all, but that's sort of more of an overarching thing I saw in this game, is that he never once made a pass out of pick and roll until he had to. But I do like the decision he makes with the dribble here. Maybe he gets maybe this awful floater is tied to the dexterity issue we've talked about. Maybe it's just not a shot he wanted to shoot. He looked sort of uncomfortable, kind of two-stepping into it, and maybe he should have went off one. But this is sort of an encapsulation of the Josh Primo Summer League pick and roll experience.
I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on this play, because I'm about to put a really strong tinfoil hat on. So before we dive off the deep end, I would love to hear some extremely normal and good people talk about their feelings on this pick and roll.
So, quick check: who is number 24?
Vassell?
Devin Vassell.
Okay, that is Vassell. He has to hit that read to Vassell, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's enough to where, if nothing else, the closeout will be slow, and you can get and he can just make the extra pass to the corner. It's just open enough that you have to see that consistently rather than taking the bad floater.
This one here.
Yeah, that one right there-ish.
Yeah.
One more step in, it's a lot more open, because there's not. Yeah. But
would you rather throw it? You're throwing it over the top, or you're throwing it where Vassell shakes downwards?
You can probably do either. Realistically, you can definitely pass him open, but that's like above Primo's current skill level, I would say. Yeah. So I think getting it in general to Vassell in some way, like finding a way to hit that, is what's important there, rather than necessarily the exact process of doing so.
Yeah, I would say above. It's definitely above his comfort level. I think he has the skill to do so, but I think his comfort level varies pretty on a rep by rep basis right
now. Just to chime in with that. If he's going to be an initiator at the NBA level, he's got to be able to create power plays out of pick and roll situations. And right now,
we lost you for a quick second. Can you run that last sentence?
Level.
Alex? We lost you for that last sentence. Would you mind repeating?
Yeah, sure. My headphones died, so I gotta.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose any of your insight.
Yeah, sure. I was just saying, you have to be able to create power plays with this. And he does it here, but the decision making isn't, I'm going to create a power play for my team or I'm going to execute on it. I'm going to create a look for myself. And not saying that's selfish or anything. That's just where his processing is right now. Because I mean, at least on film, he doesn't make a look behind him. He doesn't, check his rear view mirrors. So that's something I'd want him to be able to do if he's going to develop into an initiator. And whether that's just getting more comfortable at this type of speed. Again, we know his, level of play has changed a lot for him. So nothing to write off by any means, but just an interesting and instinctual observation is that, this is where his head's at. It's not, I'm going to create a power play or, it's, I'm getting this floater look. So that's just my 2 cents on this play.
Ev?
Yeah, I don't have too terribly much to add there. I'm kind of in agreement that you can see the kind of preference there for getting his own look, even if it's not necessarily like an ideal look within the context of that possession, as opposed to, being wired to look more to create for others, to use that numbers advantage, the power play that Alex was talking about, to get an even better look. Like the floater's it's not a shot that I would recommend, but he can make it. But it's not the best shot available to him, even within the couple seconds around when the decision is made. So it's just like, a point to check in and see, like, at this point in time in his development as a ball handler, he is probably going to look to score more for himself than he's going to look to score for others, at least in situations like these. And if he can kind of tilt that balance a little bit more towards, even like between passing guys open, when the numbers advantage is present or taking a look for himself, then things will be a lot less predictable in terms of like how the defense has to play him. And I think like players who play with him in these lineups where he is being tasked with some creation reps will probably be more liable to get themselves in those positions because they know the ball will arrive to them more often than it has right now, I think. So not something that is like super worrying to me, but yeah, definitely a point where you can kind of check in and see his thought process crystallized into a possession where he was given either choice and he made the scoring choice in this specific circumstance.
Yeah, I think that that's a well reasoned point. This is just a personal bias. I wish that he would just have like I'd say died on this floater where you just like you kill all your momentum. That's a personal thing. I also don't like when guards pull their hands back because it's like refs call swipes all the time. Just leave your hand up to get fouled. It's a small thing, but it does drive me a little bit nuts because there's no chance you get fouled if you can pull your hands back, especially on a bad miss. Sometimes refs just blow the whistle. So this pick and roll is fine. I'm going to just go through this before we put the full foil hat on. I don't feel like he punishes he goes diagonal or he goes diagonal and out again instead of back on the retreat. I think if he retreats, he would have the bounce pass to the big, gets downhill, floater when there's options on the weak side. Okay, so I've run this back like 60 times now, and I don't think that he gets a good energy transfer on any single left-footed step. On every left-footed step, there is some like sliding motion. There is a bounce. You can see that every time that he steps, there is some like wobble or slide, or he's not able to put it all the way on the floor. And you can see that he's not generating enough power. This one's real bad. You see that weird bounce on that last step? Like as it sort of like resounds against the floor. Every time he's struggling with that ankle and energy transfer. Every single step in this possession. There's not one like super clean one. And I think that we might have like a Miles Turner level, like low hanging fruit if they can just get him to, step on, the body mapping machines and solve how he is moving, because there's some real problems with that ankle that I just straight up had not noticed before, and it's on every single step.
I was curious. I don't know if you guys did intel work or anything on Primo, but is there any injury history with his left foot, or do we know about that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I didn't generally don't do like more intel work than calling around and
That was the MCL that was sprained, right? The left one.
yeah.
Could it be related to that in any way?
Maybe there's a chance that its instability caused it potentially. I mean, isn't that what we know about causational injuries? Is that like one thing gets a little bit loose, and then up the chain takes more stressors. Those stressors eventually cause to more traumatic injuries. But
That'd be an interesting project to figure out for sure, though.
I mean, I don't want to say that like this foot instability caused his MCL injury, because this is now a theory that is as old as the last shooting clip. But like, it does make a lot more sense on like why you would have unstable landings or potential knee traumas if you struggle this much to plant and push off stably almost every single time, regardless of like how difficult it is. Obviously, you have more displacement and energy loss on if you're like doing a full speed around a pick and roll, without or if you're doing full speed around a screen trying to get into a pick and roll, like you're going to have some slippage and some bounce or jangling in your foot or whatever. But like, this is every step. Now I can't, like, it's hard to watch anything else but just watching his foot.
So, not to bring like a huge personal anecdote into it, but I actually had a similar issue in how I walked. It was a muscle imbalance, and it led to quite a few MCL issues in my left leg. So,
are you bringing in relevant data? Is that what you're apologizing for?
I don't know, but I just it you say that and like my brain immediately goes like, oh crap, like that worries me because MCL issues sort of ruined my comfortability playing, because I have a weird muscle imbalance in my left leg. I developed weird. I have like sort of the Zion gait in how I walk, and it's always like I was with a doctor one time. He was pointing out, he was like, why does your left leg do that? Your whole body shakes every time you take a step on your left foot, and it eventually led to pretty bad MCL issues. So
do you guys see that?
I hope that's not it.
Yeah, I want to definitely hear
you guys see that?
This whole footwork.
No, but like, it's the thing we're just talking. That is foot imbalance, but he can't hold that spot. He can't hold that spin. We saw it in the half spin earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't get great separation. It's like, no, this is exactly what we're talking about. Lance, he can't hold it.
If he does that hard, that's probably a bucket, or he gets this to go anyways, I think. Yeah. But yeah, no, well, PD, now you got me going. We need to play the X-Files theme music. We'd probably get copyrighted, but
this is we're past that. This is none of these streams on YouTube are monetizable. So yeah, we might as well just hit the theme at this point. But this is not a poorly executed spin move. That's the thing. Like, this is a very good spin move in terms of foot placement until he hits the point.
He slips. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, is he like landing on the outside of his left foot there? Because I can see where there would be some instability. Like that's how I sometimes walk with my right foot. And like, there have been times where there is wobble when I try to plant in a way that there shouldn't be. So like, again, don't want to get anecdotal, but like, that's what it looks like to me. And I can see why the instability is there. I don't know how you fix that. I mean, I have no experience with that, but there, like PD said, like that could be some low hanging fruit, because I don't think it's anything that like is permanent. It's just like a little bit of a retraining in the biomechanics.
Mm-hmm.
My doctor said expensive physical therapy was how to fix that, and if there's one thing the NBA can do, that's so I'm hopeful then. I just hope it doesn't lead to long-term injuries, but if he can fix that, like I think that fixes a lot of the issues he's had, because like he does struggle to get low, but I think a lot of it is more power generation, consistent power generation, and if if our little Zapruder film has done anything, it's perhaps given him a lane to fix things. I hope I don't have any more handle clips, because now that's all we'll talk about.
Who needs to talk about pressing issues that that may be extremely important discoveries.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like, like there's still other developments he has to make, like specifically again as a decision maker in the pick and roll. And you know, he has a decade to do that before he's in his prime, I suppose. So you know, he has plenty of time to rep that out. But now I can't stop thinking about this left foot. I know what that's like. That sucks. Always landing on your outside, and you know, you leave the gym in constant knee pain. So I'm hopeful he's not hurting all the time. But I do like the spin move there, and I don't even hate. So this is what I mentioned earlier to try and get us back on track. Like, he looks comfortable as a mid-range shooter, specifically when he's fading away, creating that negative momentum. It reminds me maybe a little bit of Jarrett Culver, and like Culver was not super comfortable in pull-ups, but you know, I remember he was on a Mike Schmidt's like interview thing, and they talked about how his go-to move was the turnaround J, and I feel like that's partially because like he's really comfortable with negative momentum and not at all comfortable with positive momentum. You know, you can make an argument he probably should have passed that out to 30 because McKinley Wright is going to be late on that closeout, and McKinley Wright is short. But I don't hate this, and it's a well executed spin move if he can keep his body comfortable. And I like that he's willing to shoot this shot. I don't know if you guys have any takes on that.
I like the shot. I do. I think he turns the corner okay here. That's still a little bit too much space. Like, again, shows give him trouble, and these soft switches give him trouble because he doesn't like punish them immediately. Again, gets good blow by. It's also important to note that like, look what foot he pushes off of on some of his best moves. It's like, again, the right one is where the better shin angle is. It's not the left one. Apologize, somebody rang the doorbell, and I'm babysitting a couple of dogs, or dog sitting, I guess, and they do not like this new development. So apologize for the background noise. But yeah, the shin angle is so much better on the right than on the left. I think that he's going to get a lot of those soft shows early. Sorry, the bookcase mechanism just failed, and that's going to be really essential.